It is 2 p.m. Central European Time, sharp, and we are starting with our webinar for today. So, what is going to be today's topic? It is role management, and what you're going to hear today is the topic, which actually deals with permission, workflow, and much more. We prepared for you really interesting, information for that, so you can be really excited for it. Welcome here, everybody, once again. And my name is Easy8, and I'm going to be your main host throughout today's webinar. So let's talk about technical stuff a little bit, shall we? As always, we are talking in the beginning about the technical stuff that you as our attendees are muted and that everything what you are seeing right here is going to be recorded. So in case you are gonna miss something very important for you, you can rewatch it in the recording, which will be sent to you recently after that via email. In this session, we are, of course, having the Q&A session, and this session is going to happen at the end of the entire presentation. But we invited also our Q&A specialist who is going to answer your question throughout the presentation. So if you would like to ask any question, please use the Q&A section for it, where our Q&A specialist is going to answer all your questions which you needed. And of course, keep some of those questions to the end of the presentation for our main presenter. Talking about our main presenter, so who is going to be our main presenter today? I think you already saw him here many times, and I would like to actually welcome here our main presenter, David.
Hello, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. I'm David.
Thank you, David. So, what I forgot to tell you that how much time does it take? This entire webinar and presentation is gonna take something. The presentation takes something around 45 minutes, and the entire webinar takes 1 hour. Yeah. So, without further ado, that was technically from my side. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass now the floor to David, who is going to show you a presentation and very interesting info. David, it's all yours.
So, thank you, Yuji. Hello again. So, this is our agenda for today. I suppose that you are, or some of you are administrators. So, I think this topic should be suitable for you because we're going to talk about user profiles in general, what it means, what it is. Of course, we are going to talk about roles and permissions, workflow, and then I would like to show you a sample use case, how to set up a new agenda in case that you have a new position in your system, new role, and new people coming to be put in this role. So something practical at the end. Okay, so what is a user profile? It's not only about roles, right? It has several dimensions. First, it's the user record. That's the line on the list of users which you can edit or view. You can also see the shortcut there. So the 3 dots stand for application address / users. You get to user list. So that's user record. User types. Yeah. / is user types. The user type defines kind of the environment or how the system looks like together with personal dashboard templates, right? You can have one user type at a time as well as one personal dashboard template assigned to a user. Then it is roles and permissions, of course. And I need to mention that this is valid for regular users. You can have a special users that's supposedly you, administrator. So you can have a full administrator, which overrides roles and permissions. So it's just an attribute on a user. And you can also have a partial administrator, because you might like to have some special users that would manage, I don't know, the users or trackers, workflows, roles and permissions. So they would just have their own agenda and not full admin access, right? So let's move to the application. During this presentation, I would like to always talk a little bit about the theory and then show you in the application. So that is the application. That's a regular file application. You can generate it. Anyone can generate it. If you go to easyredmine.com, in a minute, you have your own trial application. So if there is something you don't want to test on your internal system, just create your own application that will be deleted automatically after a month. So you can play there, test various concepts, not only topics from this webinar. All right, so let's see the administration. Go to the main menu and click administration. And that's where we would like to be. So first, user profiles. You can even get there through the main menu. That's a specific for users. You don't even have to go to administration, but it's typically here. So these are the users in your system. See how many of them there are, and you can filter and use predefined filters, so as you know it. So the typical user record looks like this. I can edit it. So this is the main card of the user profile, where you have the basic data, and then you know what the user type it is. So this is a team member. You can assign a dashboard template for this user, but you also have a notification settings and other settings that are really important for every user's work. Then, of course, you can manage groups the user is member of. You can see what projects he's member of, and other things such as avatar or working time, or any other information. Your profile is, of course, visible right here in the top, in case you are switching users. What else? It would be user record. Another important dimension of user profile is a user type. Okay, you can find it here, and this is the list of user types that you can find in your new application once you generate it as a trial application. And these are, custom made. They are tailored to specific position of the user, specific work type. So we have project manager, and we have a team member, we have C-level managers, etc. So if I click in one user type, you see basically my profile that I'm using. So what you can find here, I already mentioned that this user type is important for the environment definition. So, for instance, you can influence what is visible here in the blue bar in the top. So if you don't want user type to see the to-do list or activity feed, which are these two icons, you can just remove them and update, and they're gone, right? So, of course, I can return it back. And also, the left menu over here is controlled from here. So the custom menu is this help desk ticket. This comes from here, and projects and tasks are right here. Okay, so it defines an environment. You can also link a default template for this user type and a default role. Okay, and maybe last thing here, user types also control visibility in between the users. So over here you define you are visible for these. You're visible for these user types, and you can see these user types, both points of view. So that would be user type. Then if I click here on my dashboard or here on logo, I see my my personal dashboard. Part of the important part of it is the page itself, right? It's the main page, main dashboard with several tabs here. So this is my profile. This is my personalized homepage coming out of the template. So this template is important as well. Let's have a look where we can find it. So back to administration. And now scroll down to this dashboard customization, where we keep all kinds of dashboards and groups of dashboards. And then if you go to my dashboard and templates overview, you get the list of available homepage or home dashboard templates. Okay, so you can create a new one or you can edit an existing one. Just let's have a look at the team member in widget layout. So this is a template for my page here. So let's compare it. So this is a live page. My home page was changed actually, and this is the template. So if you want to assign it, I want to assign it back from template because I was able to customize it. You can go to the template, pick the template, and assign it to a user. So team member, apply template to users, and then this is my profile webinar, and you can either replace or add tabs. So now if I refresh my home screen, it equals to the template I was editing. And yeah, okay, so, and last but not least, roles and permissions. That's another dimension of a user profile, of course, but these are a bit more complex. So we'll first talk a little bit about the theory and then go back to practical usage. Before I go there, let me show you one more thing, and that's the admin and partial admin. So if you create a new user, the information about admin is right here on a user profile. So it's not controlled by roles and permissions. You can set the user as admin, or you can set the user as partial admin and pick the agenda. So they can manage task statuses, groups, or users, or user types, depending. All right. Let's go to my presentation. So now let's make a deep dive into roles and permissions. What is roles and permissions? You can imagine it in a simple way. Role is a box full of permissions, generally divided into two smaller boxes. One is global permissions and one is project permissions. The global permissions are valid throughout the application. So once you are in certain role on a project, that means you have the global permissions anywhere you go in the application. And project permissions, they are only valid on the project where you are in this role. It might seem a bit more complex in the beginning, but we'll see the detail. Of course, there is a more in roles, but this was just simplified for the beginning. What is special for role is that you can, unlike user types or homepage templates, user can have different roles on different projects, or even more roles on one project. So it's much more complex entity. And for the global roles to apply, it is necessary. So every user of the application is member at least on one project in his or her role to activate global permissions. Okay, now let's go back to the application and see the details. So roles, back to administration. and roles and permissions. So you see the roles that are defined in the application. Here you can create new ones, you can copy existing roles, or go to the details. So let's check, for instance, team member role. This is the detail of the role. So this, in the beginning, there is some visibility information, right? So you can define a task visibility. You can see all tasks in projects where you're a member, or just all non-private, or those tasks that are related to you. Team members can typically see only the tasks that were created by them, that are watched by them, or they have assigned. Okay, same for spend time visibility. Team members usually don't see spend time of others, while project manager should see it, definitely. Users visibility, etc., and even member management that assures that a project manager can only assign lower roles, and team member perhaps can only add another team member, but not a C-level role or project management role. So a kind of hierarchy, and a few others. But what is more important now is that now we see those two smaller boxes: global permissions and project permissions, right? They are sorted into categories or topics. So we have a project, accounts, agile board, and a typical example of a global permission would be create project. So once you're a member in this role, if the role has this permission activated, you can generally create a project. So that's typically for a project manager. Once project manager on a project, I can create another one. And typical project permission would be editing a project. So once I'm as a project manager on a project, I can edit that project, but only that one. Please mind that there are some question marks which will tell you more about certain roles. So, and at the end, you have information related to task tracking. So these are all types of tasks or trackers in Easy8 Mine, and you can define whether this role can view this tracker, create, add comments, etc. So maybe let's look at another role, project management role. So as a project manager, yes, I can create project. As a project manager, yes, I can edit project where I'm as a project manager. And I can do this with my with existing task types. I can see them, create them, edit them, add comments, delete tasks. So this role is generally more powerful, right? So this is a detailed view. I need to study a little bit the details because it's a load of permissions, detailed permissions per category, and it's good to set it up and test it afterwards. The best way probably is to create a test user, and then you can log in simultaneously as admin and then in anonymous window as this test user, and you can change the roles of these users on projects and see the differences and just tune up the permissions right here. For that, it's better to go to roles and permissions, and instead of going to each role detail, which would be confusing, time consuming, and then you have a permissions report, and that's a perfect thing for roles tuning. Okay, because permissions report is a matrix where the first column contains the section and particle permission, such as create project, and the subsequent columns are the roles. So from this, I see that, okay, who can create project? Only C-level and project management role, no one else. So this way you can be sure what you can do, or what which role can do, and just spend some time to tune up the application. There are also non-member and anonymous. These are built-in roles. As if you go to role list, they are always there. But in most cases, they are not really used because non-member is that, yeah, you are not assigned to any project. And anonymous is even worse. It's a security threat. It's someone who is not even logged into the application. So you probably don't want these guys to see anything in the application, right? So that would be the roles. Okay. Next topic would be workflow. It is important because that's the place where roles, trackers, or task types, task statuses meet all together and define task status transitions. Simply said, what you can do with a task, from which status to which status you can move it, depending on a task status and a role. There are generally 3 status transition tables. In most cases, only the first one is used, but not in all cases, because the first one is for everyone. Second and third is for special cases, or if you want to distinguish whether the person working with the task is author of the task or assignee. You can have a different workflow for them. And also in workflow, you can define what are mandatory fields for each status or what are read-only fields. So let's go to workflow right here. And so the first tab, task status transitions, is the most important one, right? In this place, you can pick a role, for instance, team member, and you have to pick a tracker. You can pick one, more, or all of them. But please mind that this is exactly the reason why I'm usually telling to all of my customers, please be reasonable when using roles and trackers. Because if you create too many of them, then it's just too complex for the configuration and administration. Because remember, you should be able to set up a workflow for all team members, for all roles that are in the system and for all trackers. So you just multiply one by another and get the combination of the cases. So that's why we try to use as much as possible what is there already in the trial. And in most cases, I would say at least in 50% of cases, 4 roles are good enough. And trackers, the same thing. You don't need 20 of these. You can be fine with 1 or up to 5 or 6 and still get the most of the application. All right, never mind. Next step, what I'm going to do when in a workflow, I pick a role, tracker, and edit. I make sure that I only display the statuses that are used by this tracker. Otherwise, I would see all the statuses and the screen would be too big. I can do it in some cases, of course, but generally, this is the way. So, okay, I get the table, all right? And it tells me if I'm a team member and working with tasks, I can create new tasks, I can put it in progress, and I can put it in supervisor review status. Okay, but I cannot close it. There's no done. And if it's done, I cannot reopen it. Okay. So, but unless, and that comes time for the second table, unless I'm author of the ticket. If I'm author of this ticket or task, sorry, then I can close it and I can reopen it because it's my ticket, right? And then you can have something similar for assignee. So what does this tell me? That the application is by default set up. So the team members deliver the work to someone in a higher position, typically project manager. And this guy closes the task, confirms that it's done. Let's double check if I'm right. So I will just switch team member for project management role, tasks remains, and edit. And yes, I was correct. So if you can see, then this guy can, project manager can simply close the task and reopen the task. Right. So that would be the main cause why we have workflow. And the second important functionality of workflow is task field permissions. Over here, the same logic. You have project management role, where you have the roles and trackers. So again, you can set up the application. So for instance, team members must always define a subject of a task. So you can make it required in a status new and copy it using this button to other statuses for this role and this task tracker. Maybe you can require them to estimate time or this description. So if you want them to write down description, okay, it's required in status new, and maybe from in progress on, it can be read only. So they can change it later. Just an example. And you can do it for most of the standard fields. Of course, project and author and a few other fields are just by the logic of the application mandatory. But you can include, if you have any custom fields, you can do the same for custom fields. So that is workflow. Right. So now, since we know already what is a profile of a user, what is a user type, what is roles with permissions, what is homepage template, let's focus at a sample use case. Imagine that we have established new HR position in our company, so we need to set it up for this position, right? And we know that HR people should have the same profile and permissions like team members, plus something else. So specifically, they should be able to view and create alerts. That's a global permission. And they should be able to create sub-projects from a template under their own projects where they're used to work. So we know that there are some templates, there is an existing human resources project. They need to see also the list of users on their home dashboard because they work with them frequently. They need to have access to people dashboard, which is a dashboard somewhere in the application. So, and yeah, the reason is they need a sample user creation and assignment. So let's see what it takes. It's a complex use case that can show you what is important and how this can be used. Right. So first, how to start? I would probably start in administration and create a dashboard because the note was that they need to have the list of users page on their home dashboard. Let's start there. So I'll go to dashboard customization, my dashboard, and templates overview. I like to simplify my work, I don't have to do everything from scratch, so I don't have to click a new template and start from the beginning. Instead, I can just use an existing template. And it was mentioned that these guys are similar to, for the beginning, they are similar to team members with some additional permissions and views. So let's copy this one. So I would duplicate team member and create HR dashboard template. All right. The new page is usually as the last one here. And as I remember, they needed to have a list of users of the application on their homepage dashboard. So we can customize it a little bit. So I will click on customize button, and perhaps I can add a new tab for that. So add a tab, and we'll name it users. Okay, and so I've created a tab, I've renamed it, and now I can put a simple page element or widget on this page, on this tab. And so I'll pick this large area on the top and pick lists. So from here, I can just create any kind of list. In the next step, I'll just specify the entity. So in this case, it will be users. All right. And all right, so system users. So you can either use one of the saved filters or just click your own filter. So this is just coming out of the default filter for the entity I've selected. So the main thing is the status is active. So, all right, we can group them by user type and simply save the page. All right. So the dashboard is ready. In next step, we can focus at roles and permissions. As this HR role has specific permissions, let's say I didn't find any suitable role for that to use, so I'll just create a new one. Although I said that it's not really a wise idea to have dozens of roles here, but yeah, for HR, I think it's reasonable to have a special role. So we can pick a team member because they are supposed to be like team members, but they should have extra view and create alerts and create subprojects. Okay, so let's see. Let's copy team member role right here. And let's name it HR. HR as a description and save. So now I can pick whether to go to detail. I can, of course, organize the position. So they are a little bit above team member, or maybe they are as a line role, maybe they are on the C-level role. It's up to you what hierarchy you choose. And now we can go to either the permission report or directly into the role. So I just simply search the required permission. So these guys should see alerts, and they should be able to create alert for other users and create subprojects from a template, right? So just make sure global alerts to view alerts and create edit alerts is global permission. And we also need a project permission because create subprojects from a template is a project permission. So you can either pick create subprojects, but you don't want them to create blank projects that don't have anything defined. They are not skilled users. So that's why you allow them to create subprojects from a template, existing template, right? And we'll click save. So the role is ready. Just to double check if there are any templates, project templates. Oh yeah, they have new hire sales training. So they also have existing templates. So we have defined a role. Now, last thing is to create a user type. So let's go to user types, and yeah, again, we can pick a team member. That's the profile I'm using. Copy it. HR. So new role exists already. Sorry, new user type. Now we can do several things here. We should link default template for this user type. So I can link the HR homepage template and also a default role. Why the default role? Because if you are adding a member on a project, you either pick a role there or do nothing, and a default role is used instead. So it can be useful. So, and that's where everything connects. On a user type, you connect the default template and default role. And what else? I remember that they were supposed to be they were supposed to have direct access to the people dashboard. What is it? Okay, let me go to another tab for that. And yeah, different dashboards in the system, but this is referring to an existing global dashboard that can be accessible here. So it's a shared dashboard. This is the one, I suppose. Okay. So what I would like to do is enhance this user type with the link, so they can access it from the left menu. So what I do is that I'll select. You don't need to select the whole link. So you can exclude the name of the application. Control C, and then you can create a new custom menu item here. So the link goes here. People dashboard icon goes here, and we can name it. All right, date. Okay, so they should be able to see how does ticket and people dashboard and my dashboard projects and tasks. So we have basically created a new user profile that consists of a new role, new homepage template, and user type, and the last two define the environment. And what else? Well, we can, or we should, create a user. So now we can go to users and create one. So HR email. Of course, you need to either you need a login, HR. You need a password, which you can either generate or create manually. Typically, you would generate a password and force the user to change it on the first login. In my case, I'll just create it manually. So we have user information, but now who's gonna be this guy? And so now it's time to select the proper user type. So it's HR. And if there is a proper linked default template, you can click here and it's automatically assigned to the user. If you are not sure, you can scroll down a little bit and select it manually. So you can go, it was this one. So you can pick one or another. All right. So next step is, I remember that there was some additional requirement. Yeah, they work with users, so they need to manage the users. All right, and now it's time maybe to add this guy some additional permissions that are not really contained in the role, because I'm not gonna give him administrator, but maybe a partial administrator, because this guy is gonna work with users, right? And maybe with groups. So that's how you can create the user and you can send the information directly to the user. So that's done, all right? And the user just received the notification. What is now necessary? Remember, users must be members of at least one project, right? And if I click into this user project details, there will be nothing. Okay, so I can add project, and so yeah, there is a HR project for this user. Yeah, and you can just pick HR role, So now can be sure that the user exists, it is active and has a membership in a certain project. So the first time the user enters the application, and we can see if it works, we can do it using this anonymous window and log on behalf of this user. So application link, HR, tests 1, 2, 3, 4. And here we go. This is the user profile. This is the dashboard. So, oh yeah, I have people dashboard accessible to me. The other thing is what I can see at the moment. I can see the projects, either those that are public or those where I'm a member of. Okay. I have my custom dashboard with the users, list of users. So I think I'm all set. So this was a typical example how you can set up a new type of users in your application. You can do the same for, I don't know, help desk people, or let's see what user types we do have in general in trial. So these are predefined. It always comes with predefined C-level manager, project manager, or agile, scrum master, and others. But if you need something specific like procurement, controlling, HR, this is the way how to set it up. Okay. I hope it was understandable. And now time for questions. You're not, I can't hear you, Iri.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, David, for the presentation and all the informations you shared. I'm sorry, guys, I completely forgot that I muted my mic also. So that's how I wanted to be prepared, to not just get into the presentation when I haven't should be there. So now is the time for a question, exactly as David correctly said. And we have only one question in our Q&A. Yeah, and that is the question from Swan. I'm going to read it out, and I suppose David is going to answer it because it's waiting for him. So, can groups be auto-assigned depending on the domain of the person using SSO when auto provisioning is on?
Well, I'm afraid it doesn't work. It's not as complex. Yeah, you can use SSO. You can have the system linked up with LDAP or another identity providing systems. So it can be you can identify yourself towards Microsoft Azure or Google. But what you get is an access to the application, single sign-on, but not full identity provision in between two systems. So you basically need to be, if we talk about LDAP, simple case, you need to be member of a certain group that is used for to enter the system. You can have one or more, let's say, LDAP authentications, but generally there is no further logic of assignments. And so you can auto create a user from a LDAP group, but then you need to set up access manually to this person. So now this is the answer.
All right, thank you. So I don't see any other questions. So for now, let me repeat it. It's just right now the right time to ask if there is anything which you want to know, from, oh, there is one anonymous. So when you say that the user's profile is activated when you are part of a project, it means that if there is no project in which they are on, the user profile is not activated?
It is partially activated, but the thing is that you can log in, but the application will look like it doesn't work, or it's broken, or it doesn't work properly, because if for instance, if you want to see a calendar, or let's say another information here in the top bar, maybe a select dashboard or search bar, this is a global permission. So if you don't have it, on at least one project, it will be blank. It won't be available because the global permission wasn't applied. So there is a rule of thumb that every user in application should be a member at least of one project in his role, his typical role, for the global permission such this one to apply.
Okay. The same person says, okay, thanks. All right, thank you. And so we still have some time for your questions. So feel free to ask David whatever comes to your mind regarding to this topic. We are going to gladly help you out with all the answers, David, also. And
Maybe if there are no questions, sorry, Easy. Maybe if there are
yeah.
no questions, I can think and talk about a typical case. You might like a certain role or certain user type, let's say, be a part of every project. It's quite typical requirement. So, for instance, management. So what do we have? Management is typically part of every project without having to, to ask someone to enter them manually. There are basically two ways how to do that. The first one would be very simple, and that's about project templates. I would really recommend, if you have a project template, add such a user in a template, so you don't forget it later. Another thing is you can group these users, and it's more versatile. You can have a management group and have all actual management there, or actual project managers there, depending or controlling. And you can assign this group as a member of a project or a project template. So automatically, whoever is in that group has access. And the third option is, I go back to user types. At the moment, you can only link the home page template and default role, but we have a special feature that can be used only for one user type in the application, and this is really advanced stuff for admins. So listen carefully. There is in administration, in between plugins, there is a feature called custom built-in role. All right, I can edit it and activate it. And this is really only for admin, and you do it only once, and you need to do it properly. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So I have activated this built-in role feature. And now if I go to a user type, I can pick one, but only one. Please remember that. That will be automatically a member. You see, built-in role. Member of all projects if he or she is not already member there in another role. Okay, so yeah, C-level role, update, and now whoever is C-level manager as user type is going to be automatically member of each project in the system except already selected in this role. But what is crucial is you cannot use it twice. So for project manager and for all other user types, this built-in role must remain empty. Okay. So that was a use case that's quite typical, quite required, and not that easy to find.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting. So, thank you so much for all the content you shared and for the use case. It was really interesting to see. And I don't see any other questions. So, guys, first of all, before you start leaving, at the end of the entire webinar, there is going to be a survey which is going to pop up on your screens in the browser. Yeah. So before you leave, before I end this webinar, please give us your feedback on what do you think that we should aim to in the next topic, what you would like to see in the next topic, which which topic actually interests you, and how you think that we did this time. It's very valuable for us that you are going to give us some feedback on what we are doing in order to to develop in better way and to improve our services and everything. So that's the first thing. And now the second thing, next webinar. Next webinar is going to happen on the 3rd of September and it's going to take place until the 5th of September. There are going to be 3 different sessions in 3 different languages, Hungarian, Czech, and English. And those sessions are aiming to a new version of the application, which is the number 14. So there is going to be a webinar totally dedicated to version 14, which is coming, in the near future. And so book this time for your free time to watch what is going to be new in version 14, sorry, not 13, 14, and make sure that you're not going to miss anything over there. With these, I'm going to say again, thank you, David, for your interesting presentation and informations.
It was my pleasure. Thank you guys for your time.
And thank you to you all that you booked free time in your busy schedules. And we will see each other on the next webinar in the future very soon. So thank you so much and have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye. Take care.